Pillar Performance Triple Magnesium has been a game changer for my sleep. I've seen real improvements in my wearables recovery. Most importantly, I feel better. Use code ROUGE for 15% off at pillarperformance.shop or for North America, thefeed.com. Tour de France Stage 10, a massive central stage, and 4,500 meters of climbing was on the menu for the riders on Bastille Day. It's an extra stage before the first rest day. Normally there's 9 stages before a rest day. None of the climbs are particularly scary like a Puy de Dôme, but it's climbing all day. So it was likely to be a breakaway stage. Julien Alaphilippe gets a bit too excited. He jumps before the first main wall where the break already half forms. How many pink jerseys do you see here? I see 5, so maybe I should go to an optometrist. But EF, they were attentive, and Harry Sweeney ripped this gap open because Ben Healy was in there. Visma was camping out. Sivakov was sick and dropped. And Wellens was controlling for UAE, whilst attacks from Jayco, from the French riders, were flying all over the place. UAE come up here to block. They're kind of happy with this breakaway. They got 3 on the front. They're sort of blocking. And then the Tudor rider slips through and it starts again. So Ben O'Connor, Lenny Martinez, the break went easier than I thought. The last counter moves coming was Simon Philip Yates. He jumps with Nielsen Paulus or Baudin in his wheel. Johannesson unders, that is, comes across. Wellens is trying to mark it, and he just can't do it on this uphill drag. So Simon Yates gets across to Schmidt. Wellens tries to shut it down, but then eventually they have to let the gap out to 30 seconds. And so Remco Evenepoel has helpers in here. He's got VPP, he's got Ilan van Wilder, but it's really EF Education Easy Post. They are the team most represented in this break. They got the rider best placed on GC, Ben Healy, on 3 minutes 55. And they've got firepower. Yeah, as I said, Paulus, Baudin, Sweeney. So a big shift in store for Niels Pollitt and Tim Wellens controlling this stage. And they have this gap pegged. It was a battle for quite a while in the middle when I had a siesta. Wellens looked like he tried to bring the gap down. It did go down from 3:55, which seemingly that's where they tried to peg it. So maybe they were trying to go for the stage, but in the end, EF won out, and that UAE have to relent. Eventually, Fuga de la Fuga action begins in the breakaway. Healy first, he's marked by Ben O'Connor. Then Victor Campenaerts goes over one of these climbs. There's like 8 categorized climbs today, and then about another 8 hard ones that weren't categorized. And any of these Fugas could have gone. Look at this. Lenny's flicking Arensman. If Arensman decides not to relay immediately or pull behind Simmons and Healy on this fast pedaling descent, they're gone. They were the 2 strongest break riders in week 1. Both of them, stage 6, they were mega strong. O'Connor's frustrated with Blackmore for not pulling. Simmons tries to anticipate, but unfortunately for him, Ben Healy just goes into choo-choo mode, whilst Visma Lisa Bike increased the pace. Tej Benoit begins pacing with Sepp Kuss in his wheel, but Marc Soler, he just drops the wheel. He's like, I don't need to follow you. Neither of you are on GC. Pogacar's a little bit deeper in the group. And so the gap, it's about to open, but only attacks across to it, which is maybe not the wisest, because at Arkea, B&B Hotels start pacing behind him to protect Vauclin's GC, while Sepp Kuss is saying, I'm caught in no man's land. What should I do? And Arkea pace it back. UAE haven't had to do anything yet. Only gets joined by Lipovic and Jordan Jagat. And then Adam Yates, with the still upper body, starts to control. But Jorgensen attacks. Pogacar in the wheel. Roglic marking it. Florian Lipovic sees Roglic going up the road. So, of course, he starts to mark that. And UAE trying to control and doing a pretty good job of it. Narvaez returns. He starts pacing. They got Yates and Narvaez. But then Kuss goes. They drop the wheel. They're like, we don't need to mark Kuss again. Adam Yates getting on the radio. Narvaez is saying, I'll just pace behind him. But we're not in the high mountains here. It's up and down rolling terrain, and the draft really matters. So UAE are just content to pace. But then Jorgensen attacks again. Narvaez can't respond. And on this sort of cross headwind section, a lot of crosswind here, Yates has to put in a big shift, chasing Jorgensen, who's pedaling in the draft behind Kuss, who's riding all out. It reduces the group just to Pogacar, Vingegaard, and Evenepoel. That stops. Forget about the GC action for a while. Soler paces. Ben Healy he's pacing all out for the yellow jersey. He's got to finish with over 3:55 advantage on the Pogacar group. It's horrible exposed terrain up here, and Jorgensen attacks again. Pogacar responds comfortably. He's not under much pressure here. Kuss returns. He starts to set a tempo before Jorgensen attacks again. Vingegaard opens the door nicely for Pogacar. But on this attack, Narvaez and Yates are dropped. So all the other GC guys there, Lipovic, Gol, Roglic, Maybe not Rodriguez. He's in this group with Narvaez and Yates. So the UAE domestiques aren't there. They're dropped, and just ahead, Jorgensen gets across to Campenaerts, who was in the early days breakaway, also keeping it together for Simon Yates. And now Campenaerts can begin pacing on the descent full gas. I think a few splits opened. It wasn't shown on the main broadcast. It was on multi-screen. But all the main GC contenders together until the main climb. Back to the breakaway. Simon Yates uses that tricky descent, the last corner, to attack. Drops Healy, catches Arensman and O'Connor by surprise, and O'Connor cracks himself getting back to Simon Philip Yates. And by the time he gets there, he's pretty much done. And Yates sees Arensman coming across. So he's like, okay, O'Connor, he's on the limit. He's also relaying. I'll sit in, rest for about 15, 20 seconds. Arensman, before, as he's getting there, as he mentally thinks, I've just bridged across, hit him again. Yates gets a gap. It sits at like 5 seconds. Arensman was really, really strong on this climb. I think if he anticipated or got away, he would have been almost impossible to beat on the earlier terrain. But Simon Yates takes the stage win after winning Giro d'Italia GC earlier in the year. Back to the GC group, Campenaerts paces the beginning of the climb. That stops Narvaez coming back, who started to sprint for Pogacar. And then a somewhat unusual situation begins, because normally Pogacar and UAE are so strong as a team. They're the best team in the world, wins-wise. They've always got riders in this situation at the bottom of a final climb helping Pogacar, but Remco's attacking. He doesn't respond. Now Pogacar, we haven't seen this, I think, for number of years. He's having to pace himself, respond to Lipovic, so he decides attack is the best form of defense, drops the hammer. Is he going to gap Vingegaard? He's got the first acceleration, gets back up to speed, and then tries to get over another gear again. That's probably sprinting at like 40 k's an hour uphill. Attacks again. Looks like Vingegaard's gone. He pulls out, but he's able. They cut to Stora actually on the live broadcast, so you didn't really see Vingegaard close it. But anyway, Vingegaard closes it. Those two don't relay with each other. Lenny Martinez comes back for glory. He paces the two, and so there's no further hostilities, whilst Lipovic and Jorgensen take 3 seconds from Remco, Only, and Roglic. Simon Yates wins the stage ahead of Arensman. Healy takes the yellow jersey on 31 seconds. O'Connor on 49 seconds. Stora, Blackmore, Johannesson, Martinez, Pogacar, Vingegaard. Here's what Simon Yates had to say after the race.
Actually, I didn't feel like it out there. It was a really hard start to be there, and a lot of strong guys. And actually, that's why I took advantage into the final corners at the bottom of the descent before the climb started, because I was looking for a bit of a head start. So I just did my best from there, really.
But as I said, Ben Healy was rewarded for his perseverance in the breakaway. He won a stage this week, and now he's taken the yellow jersey by 29 seconds ahead of Pogacar. Very small gaps between the others, except Schkelmoser falls out of the top 10. He lost a lot of time today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out Pillar Performance through the link down below, and see you with the Stage 11 recap on Wednesday. Ciao.